She moved off somewhere into that thick bush there behind her. Come to say hello, and as soon as the hyena started moving over into this direction, she moved off somewhere into that thick bush there behind her. You can see the mother's very relaxed. She's not even picking up her head. And I'm sure in due time, that'll rub off on the little one. Chantal, when do leopard cubs start to eat meat? Usually around 2.5 months. That's more or less the time that we start seeing them feeding. But they are not weaned until they are at least about 6 months old. Sometimes even longer. Just have a look at that belly. You can see she's had something to eat. And we often think that leopard cubs only get fed by their mother, but when they are about 2.5, 3 months old, they can move around very, very diligently in trees, and they often chase small little birds and squirrels and stuff. So I often wonder how much of their diet is made up of smaller protein sources. I know for sure that they do take bugs or insects, beetles, wherever they can. Just look at those ears.
Side.
See it's up. It's
and there is no run.
Out.
Clearly shows the strength of Lancashire's squad over the last couple of years, isn't it? They barely can't get a game.
Will another predator kill the cub if they are alone? I think there's a real risk of that, yes. If they get the chance, they'll more than likely try and kill them. Maybe a large hyena.
Critchley taps the bat. Here's Bailey into to Critchley. Wraps him on the pad. Bailey asks the question. The ball deviates out into the offside. The umpire says not out. That's the end of the 5th over. So 5 gone. 1 left at the power play. 18 for 3. Critchley on 0. Deploy on 14. The wickets of Lewis Rees run out by Luke Wood for 4. Billy Godalman for 8. And Wayne Madsen for 1. We'll bring Dave Fletcher in at the end of this next over. But yeah, I mean, so far, I mean, it's been great to have had the cricket we've had up to this stage, isn't it? Obviously, this not going to be able to qualify for the next stage, the Bob Willis Trophy, but you must have enjoyed the last month or so. Playing some gets games. The wicket of Duploy, just got a thick top edge up into the sky, and Davis with a catch running up from behind the stumps, and it's now 4 down. Wickets tumbling left, right, and centre. Off a little leading edge. It's looped up into the air, and Davis should take the catch. He does. And Danny Lamb into the attack, and with his first delivery, gets the wicket of Duploy, just got a thick top edge up into the sky, and Davis with a catch running up from behind the stumps, and it's now 4 down. Wickets tumbling left, right, and centre. 18 for 4. Yeah, 18 for 4 at the start of the 6th over, with Danny Lamb coming into the attack. We've seen so far. 1 over from Hartley, a couple from Wood, a couple from Bailey, and now Lamb coming into to the attack from the river end. Yeah, a bit of jiggery pokery because at the start to sanitise another set of headphones. 6 over with it's Danny Lamb coming into the attack. We've seen broadcasting so far, from a tent, you see. 1 over from Hartley,
yeah, I think everyone's had to adapt,
a couple
not
from
just
Bailey.
on the field, off the field. Yeah, see coaches wiping balls and mitts, so we're used to it. It actually seems strange people hugging now on TV when you see old things around.
Because I think we're having to sanitise another set of headphones.
Chopped away into the offside. There's plenty of red Lancashire shirts there in the offside.
Broadcasting from a tent,
Tom Hartley Fields, and there is.
Yeah, I think everyone's had to adapt.
There is
not
no
just
run.
on the
18
field,
for 4.
off the
We're in the 6th, the final over of the power play.
Balls and mitts, so we're used to it.
Out in the middle.
It actually seems strange people hugging now on TV when you see old things around.
To join him at the non-strikers end, we've got
chopped
Stephen
away
Croft
to the
with us.
offside. There's plenty of red Lancashire shirts there in the
media
offside.
marquee.
One of them's Tom Hartley fields, and there
guides this
is
one down back with a point.
no run.
Rob
18
Jones
for 4
fields.
in the 6th, the final over of the
power play.
Matt Critchley
for 4.
out in the middle.
A little strange not playing a T20 match at Old Trafford at the minute. I mean, the obviously there's a couple scheduled for the week after next. To join him at the non-strikers end, we've got Stephen Croft with us.
Season in inverted commas, and you're at Liverpool.
Media marquee.
Yeah.
Quickly just guides this one down back with a point for Rob Jones.
I don't think many of us have been in the ground since
March.
March, so it's foreign territory as it is, really, not to even get in the changing rooms and your locker. But lads have adapted well, and yeah, it's a place we're quite familiar with Liverpool for most of us.
You've not been in OT since March?
No, since we got told to clean the lockers out, and we've not been back in, really.
Aye, strange old time, isn't it? Be good to see it the week after next. He's lamming balls to Critchley, shuffling half forward and punching it back down the pitch. But no run, dot ball, 18 for 4.
Yeah, the lads have adapted really well. We've had a good base leading into the season at Chester. They looked after us really well. But yeah, the lads have adapted from obviously having all the comforts we do usually have at Old Trafford. It's a great facility, but not to have it is...
thrashed by Critchley as Lamb completes his first over and through to Davis, no run, end of the 6th. So through the power play, 18 for 4 after 6. Critchley on 0, Hughes on 0. Wickets of Rees for 4, Godalman for 8, Madsen for 1 and Duploy for 4.
But yeah, it almost takes you back when you first started playing, getting dressed in a tent or not having those brilliant facilities. And yeah, we'll obviously, when we get back there, I don't think we'll take it for granted, and it's obviously an awesome facility that luckily we get to use most of the time.
Wicket maiden for Daniel Lamb. They use these youngsters make it look easy, don't they?
Yeah. It's been, like I say, it's been a great opportunity for the likes of Daniel Lamb to know he's going to be playing, and Tom Hartley, a great sort of learning season for him, really, as Pazza comes into the attack, who obviously be in his ear helping him, and probably no better person than Pazza to learn off for a T20 spinner as well.
So yeah, this feels a bit more familiar, seeing Stephen Parry bowling. I feel like it's a little bit more natural now, a bit more normal.
He just goes well in that kit, doesn't he? And when he's in the changing room, he's great to have around. He never shuts up, and so I think the coach would be nice to have him out there and out of their ears, to be fair.
Well, it's his first game of the season for Stephen Parry. One of 3 spinners that Lancashire have named, with Hartley and Parkinson playing as well. But here's Parry to Hughes, drilled through the offside for a run. He's off the mark, Alex Hughes, with that. We're starting the 7th over, so through the power play at 19 for 4 at the start of the 7th. Certainly a reflection of how well they regard Tom Hartley, that he's got the nod for the first few T20 games. Into Critchley, tall man Critchley, and pushing it back towards Parry, no run.
Yeah, it's a department we've been very good in. Obviously Stephen Parry playing his first game, it speaks volumes, and obviously Matt Parkinson, we've got Jack Morley as well, another young left arm spinner that we haven't seen yet.
Parry into Critchley again off the front foot, easing the ball through the offside for a single. Squad moves on to 20 for 4. There's a decent tradition of left arm spinners over the course of the last few years at Lancashire.
Yeah, and you see Pazza as well. Obviously there's Mr. Keady before him, who learnt a great deal off as well.
He's going right back, just chopping the ball into the onside. Bailey comes stomping up from mid-wicket. Extra run added to the total, 21 for 4.
Yeah, and it's great to see Mr. Kerrigan back as well at Northants, having an opportunity. We all know he's still got the talent there, and hopefully he's going to play this weekend and a lot more in the future for Northants as well. Yeah,
it's good to see that, wasn't it? Simon back involved in cricket with Northants. Critchley's on strike, the keeper standing up. Parry coming left arm around the wicket to Critchley, just guides the ball square of the wicket out towards point for a single. 22 for 4. We're in the 7th. For a batting team at the minute, Stephen, when you've lost 4 and you're just out the power play and you've got 22 on the board, as Parry comes in to Hughes, who goes right back and works the ball through mid-wicket again. Bailey coming up to field, wants a second, but Critchley says no. Score on to 22 for 4 at the end of the over. 23 for 4, correction, at the end of the over. So yeah, I mean, from a batting point of view, I mean, I appreciate it's T20 cricket and you've not got too much time to rebuild, but they're going to have to try and find some kind of rebuilding here. Yeah, so I think they'll be quite happy that over, and Pazza probably won't be really. I know you've only got 6 singles from it, but you'd like to squeeze in a dot or 2. So yeah, it's a good opportunity for us to Lancs now to try and get even more of a squeeze on, as this period almost can get labelled as a knock-in period, but you don't want them to get easy singles every ball, so we might see another extra one of the sweepers in the ring to try and stop that easy single really, and try and make them take a high risk really to even get a single. So I think Pazza obviously it's his first over of the comp, but he probably would have minded squeezing a dot in there, and I'm pretty sure Tom's mentality about that, try and squeeze a couple of dots in with the singles. Yeah, left arm spin from both ends, Hartley bowling, and pushed away into the offside by Hughes, but for no run. Then Villas, the skipper at short cover fields, lobs the ball back to Hartley, who's a tall lad, isn't he, Tom Hartley? He comes bouncing in and balls again, right back goes Hughes, works it through the onside. He's gone through the first quickly, wants a second, but again Lancashire quick across the ground to deny that possibility of a second. Yeah, so Tom's great start there, that dot ball off the first, so it puts the batter under a little bit more pressure. Like I say, if you can get a squeeze another single in, that'll be ideal for Lancs. If they're only getting that 3 or 4 off the over, it puts even more pressure on, and hopefully some rash shots to come. Change to the field with Lancashire swapping Lamb and Parkinson round from Parkinson at short fine leg, Lamb at short third man. Around the wicket, just dropped away into the onside. Throw comes in. Ooh, direct hit, could have been tight. The dive was from Hughes trying to get himself in, but pick up and throw. Direct hit could have been a little tight. We've seen 1 run out so far. Lewis Rees run out by Luke Wood for 4. 25 for 4. We're in the 8th here at Egbert, the 8th over of this T20 fixture. And we've got Tom Hartley from the River End bowls. Snapped away through the offside, but just for a single. Bailey comes up to field. Score moves on to 26 for 4. Brings Critchley back on strike. After getting through his overs pretty quickly into his second here. Into Critchley, who sweeps. Worth 1 run for him. Brings Hughes back on strike. Ball swept down to backward square leg. Scoreboard ticks along to 27 for 4. Trying to get used to the pace of the scoreboard at this outground. It's pretty sharp. I think Matt's operating the scoreboard today, and he's quick. He's quick on the buttons. 27 for 4 in the 8th. Hartley in again, balls. And Hughes goes back, works the ball off his pads down to backward square leg, and jogs through for a single. And that is the end of the over. Hartley's second, 8 gone, 28 for 4. Hughes has 5, Critchley has 5. We're going to attempt to bring Dave Fletcher from BBC Radio Derby into the commentary to join you for a little while. But in a socially distanced world, this could be tricky. Yeah, I could do that, yeah. Yeah, let's do that. You hand your headphones to Stephen to Dave. We'll clean them, sanitise them, and then Dave can take, and Stephen can take mine. It's all very complicated, but you've got to do these things properly. And it's great to have Stephen with us for a little while as well. We want to make sure everything's done properly. We've had 8 overs, 28 for 4, with Hughes on 6 and Critchley on 4. The wickets of Rees for 4, Godalman for 8, Madsen for 1, and Deploy for 4. Here's Dave Fletcher, and then we'll bring Stephen Croft in to join him.
Thanks, Scott. This is not the swapping of headphones, just Derbyshire's performance. Absolutely shambolic. 28 for 4 as a new over begins, and they're going to get some runs here as it's worked down towards third man. And on this occasion, they pick up another single to move to 29 for 4. A lot of rebuilding work required here by Matt Critchley and Alex Hughes, and Hughes hasn't an awful lot of cricket this season. Critchley takes a couple of steps down the track and pushes it back towards the bowler. Every time, Stephen. Dave Fletcher, by the way, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I did see you before driving your car down the bottom, and I thought, I'm sure I recognise him. And then now it finally twigged. Yeah, great start for Lancashire. Of course, I work for Radio Derby, so...
Yeah, it's a brilliant start, and I think I said earlier, the reason why we bowled first, wasn't sure what the pitch was going to do 100%. We played a lot of 4-day cricket here, but great start, and obviously great to see what the pitch is doing, but I think from a Lancashire point of view, you've got to try and be ruthless here. And
a lot depends on this man, Matt Critchley, who punches this next delivery off the back foot up towards long on for a single. Danny Lamb is the bowler, moves up to 30 for 4. Josh Bohannon, who was everywhere on Monday. Every time I looked up, Josh Bohannon was fielding the ball. Well, he's right in front of us now, clapping his hands. I hope he realises there's an effects microphone.
He does get around a bit. He's one of the fittest lads, so we send him all around the field.
He was going mid-wicket to mid-wicket on Monday night at one point. Lamb is in again, and Hughes drives. He didn't really time that bit of a full delivery that he managed to force out into the offside for another single. 32, or is it 31? It's already on, look at that. 31 for 4. It's the first time I've seen senior professional cricket played here. I came here a few years ago, probably about 6, 7, 8 years ago now with my lad when he was playing in a club match. I love it here. It's a really nice ground, and really nice ground as Lamb bowls, and that one is punch driven down the ground. I think they're going to be restricted to one though. Yes, they are, as the ball is picked up by Rob Jones coming around from long on, and he hurls it back in. 32 for 4.
Yeah, we've had some great memories here, mainly more 4-day games. I think it's our third T20 here. But yeah, obviously when the crowds are in, it's a brilliant atmosphere. It's quite a big ground for a club ground, yes. And when you do get the spectators in a couple of row of seats, it is a brilliant atmosphere.
This next delivery is a cutaway driven square on the offside for a single, I think. Yeah, just a single. Fielder is round quickly over there on the far side. He's miles away though, so I have no idea who it is. Who's that all the way in the distance?
I think it's Mr. Wood.
Okay.
Left arm throw, yeah.
That's the right. Yes. Well, I was hoping that might have given me a clue, but it didn't. And he's relatively short, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Shortish for a quick bowler.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, and I was surprised when he joined out how quite short he is. But he gets through the crease and he's skiddy. And like I said, for Derbyshire, there's a big partnership with these two now. I think we saw how well Critch can hit the ball the other night, and Alex is still a handy batsman as well. But I think this next partnership is a big one for both teams, really.
Yeah, no question about it. Still to come. Matty McKeon and Harry Hussain, Anuj Dal, Ed Barnes and Sam Connors. I'm not sure who'll win the fight between Barnes and Connors to come out last, but it'll be a close contest, I would have thought. There's a new over begins. Stephen Parry.
Yep.
This one is played into the onside by Alex Hughes, and there's no run. You have to. This is the ultimate nightmare. Not having. Not being head on means you can't see any numbers. It's an absolute disaster for a commentator like me. This one is played nicely by Hughes. Square on the onside for a single. A lot of singles at the moment. In fact, every single run these two have scored so far in this partnership, and they came together when it was 18 for 4. They're up to 34 for 4 now. Has come in singles. They haven't managed to hit the boundary, either of them, yet. Parry bowls and Critchley defends it straight back to him. Again, a dot ball. Big game for Lancashire. Good start in I know there's been the rain about, but a good start nonetheless by Lancashire in the group stages as Parry bowls and Critchley pushes it out into the offside where Keaton Jennings does the fielding. Yeah,
we've had a great start. Something really happy with, and a lot of new faces in this format as well, and a lot of people. Just like Tom Bailey's in front of us, is stood up and leading the attack from not playing for 3 years.
Next delivery from Parry is pushed into the leg side by Matt Critchley, and there's no run.
He has got big ears, Tommy. He can actually hear me, but he's
done very impressive.
He's done brilliantly well to not play for 3 years, to almost look like a seasoned T20 bowler, and seeing the likes of Tom Hartley come in and do a job as well, and Danny Lamb getting a good opportunity with the ball too.
Parry bowls, pushed out into the offside again, where it's fielded by Dane Villas this time, and it's the end of the over. 34 for 4 at the halfway stage. 1 run off that over from Stephen Parry. We saw a wicket maiden earlier on. I'm pretty sure there's only been about half a dozen maidens in Derbyshire's T20 history. I'm not sure if I've seen a wicket maiden, but that's a terrific effort to bowl a wicket maiden in T20, and it was the last over of the power play as well.
Oh yeah, I don't think you'd see many of them in a power play.
It's astonishing. It just shows how disappointing Derbyshire have been as Tom Hartley returns. He's going to be bowling from the pavilion end, the green and white painted pavilion, away to our left hand side. Just to the left of that, as we look, Lancashire, to the right of it, Derbyshire. And Hartley's in, turned by Hughes into the leg side. They think about 2, but they don't want to ruin their unblemished record of singles, so they decide 1 will do. We haven't seen young Matt Parkinson yet. He's just wheeling his arms around. Death by spin here for Derbyshire, although Tom Bailey took 2 of the wickets to fall, and one of them was a run out. It's Hartley bowls, and this one is pushed by Critchley out into the offside. Looks like Keaton Jennings' hair sticking out the back of his cap there. He's got a lockdown hairstyle, hasn't he?
He definitely has. I don't think he knows the barber's actually open.
Hughes goes for the big sweep, and in fact it's Critchley goes for the big sweep, and he's out, leg before wicket, and Hartley picks up 1 now. Critchley's gone, leg before wicket, and Derbyshire slipped to 35 for 5. We're going to be home early.
I think it got to that point that they probably felt like they were in, and to be fair, something had to give really. I don't think they could have done another 10 overs of just singles, so I think otherwise we're chasing too many, so I think he probably thought he was in there and gone across a straight run from Tom.
35 for 5. It's 21 deliveries for his 6, Matt Critchley, which is very un-Matt Critchley-like, in all honesty. I mean, of all the middle-order batsmen that Derbyshire have at the moment, he's probably the one with the most strokes. In fact, he's almost becoming now a batsman who bowls leg spin rather than a leg spinner who bats a bit. Such as his importance. He's coming in 5 in all forms of cricket, so that suggests that they trust him as a batsman.
Yeah, I think when he first started, he was the other way around. He was a sort of leggy who batted a bit. But yeah, a great talent. We saw the other night how well he can hit a ball, and I think probably from an ideal scenario, he was in quite early there, to be honest. And obviously you'd like your top order to get a few more runs before he comes in, but great from a Lancashire point of view.
I'm just vaguely insulted that Scott's just shown me Lancashire's lowest total in T20 cricket against Derbyshire's lowest T20 total against Lancashire. They're a long way off it at the moment at 35 for 5, I can tell you that much. As Hartley's in again and bowls, and this one is pushed out into the offside. Anuj Dal is the new batsman, and I'm pretty certain that Anuj Dal hasn't batted with the thick end of 9 overs to go in a T20 match before. His team in desperate trouble here, and he just guides this one back to the square on the offside. Parkinson does the fielding. Hughes had set off for a potential single and was turned back. So relatively inexperienced Anuj Dal. Good cricketer though. Fine fielder. How good is he with the bat? We'll soon find out as he drives this one without any kind of timing into the offside up to mid-off, and it's the end of the over, and just 1 run from that and a wicket. 35 for 1 after 35 for 5, I beg your pardon, after 11, and Lancashire will be delighted as Parkinson prepares to bowl his first over.
Yeah, he's probably the person you don't want to come on when you're 35 for 5, really. One of the country's best leg spinners, and it's surprising if you say they're 5 down that you'd think Mr. Parkinson have a few wickets, but yeah, great start by the lads, especially in that power play. I wouldn't say almost killed the innings, but it was a great start, and it's almost hard to come back from that. And we saw Critch is one of those who probably ideally had to come in with a foundation, but he had to almost set it and get the middle overs and get the runs, which is a tall ask.
Yep, it's down to Alex Hughes and Anuj Dal now. Matty McKeon and Harvey Hussain, the only 2 real recognised-ish batsmen, as the quick single is taken there by Alex Hughes, gets himself very cleverly off strike. races down to the non-striker's head and says to Orange Dahl, look, there's only 5 to go, mate, you just cope with Parkinson. I'll sit here and lean on my bat. Commentating, this is only the 3rd game that's actually started. The one on Monday night was an exciting game in the end, wasn't it? It was probably closer than most people would have imagined, as Parkinson bowls. Down the track comes Dahl and clips it up towards long on for a single, 38 for 5. But the game 24 hours earlier against Yorkshire was as disastrous with the ball as this has been with the bat. Yorkshire getting 220. So despite getting the finals day last year, Derbyshire certainly haven't reproduced that kind of form in the competition this season. As Hughes turns it just neatly into the leg side for another single. Dahl will run singles all day long, and he'll run them very quickly.
Yeah, it's a very exciting game on Monday.
Decent, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think both teams could have tightened up in slight areas, but I think that's the nature of this year, really, with a few senior players missing and overseas players from both sides. That sort of end quality, but I think overall, well, that was a good game of cricket, and the Blast has been a good spectacle, really. It's been, with no crowds in as well, everyone's done really well.
Parkinson bowls, it's chopped into the offside by Hughes, and there's no runners. Jennings does the fielding. It's weird, isn't it? I really noticed in the game against Yorkshire at Headingley that for the first time there were no crowds, because at T20 it's all raucous and everybody's having a great time. Parkinson bowls and it's defended by Dahl.
Yeah, especially a ground like Headingley as well, where you get all the seats, where here is an outground, there isn't other thousands of empty seats, so it's not as obvious, but yeah, it definitely had that feel.
That's weird.
At Headingley.
Very strange. Dahl takes a couple of steps down the track and flicks it away into the leg side. They've run the first one quickly, but they'll have to settle for the single.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I prefer the empty seats or the seats filled by Yorkshiremen having a few words with you.
Yeah,
but,
I always think empty seats in Yorkshire are all right, aren't they? There's nothing wrong with an empty seat at Headingley. In fact, Dominic Cork made the point after the game against Yorkshire, saying that having been beaten so 99 runs in the end, the margin of victory, said it was probably just as well there was nobody there, because whoever would have been fielding in front of the Western Stand would have been copping it, no question about it. That have taken plenty.
Yeah, it was a tough place to field. I got sent out there when I was a youngster, and then days when I did captain, I tended to feel on the other side.
Well, you've got to use if there's no point in having influence if you can't use it, is there? Tom Hartley to bowl his 4th and final over from the pavilion end, bowls to Dahl, who clips it into the leg side, and they'll pick up another single. I'm not suggesting you've ever been in this kind of position, I'm sure you haven't, but 40 for 5 with 8 overs to go. What do you think of, as a batsman out there, what on earth are they thinking? Are they thinking, well, this is gone? Because you can't really think like that, can you?
No, I think the game has sort of evolved, really. I think there was that time years ago where you think you've got to rebuild, which you do slightly, but I think to rebuild to get a score of 8 is still not going to be enough. No. So I think you just got to be brave all the way through. If you lose a few wickets, you still, in my opinion, have to have that fearless mindset to try and get a total, because if you get anything under 100, it's a very small total, really. So you still have to try and get that tricky 120, and hopefully you bowl out of your skin, really. So yeah, trying to get in there and be fearless, and even when it's hard to, is probably the hardest thing to do, really, because if you hit one in the air, you think, well, that wasn't very good.
No, 120 seems an awful long way away. They've hit a couple of singles off the first 2 balls of this Tom Hartley over. They're not really going to get them very far, singles from here on in, but there's isn't another one. Oh, and Hughes Dahl had set off for the single. Fortunately, he managed to get round in time, and it was to the right of Hartley, so he had to turn a full 180 before he could throw the ball, and in the end missed the stumps. But just another moment of anxiety for the Derbyshire batsman. Hughes waits and carves this straight to the man at backward point. So even the balls that they hit reasonably hard aren't going anywhere at the moment. And you're right, Stephen, 80's not going to be anywhere near enough. I'm not sure that 120 is, in all honesty, but this one off the back foot, pushed into the onside. Hartley races out to do the fielding, does do the fielding, and it's the end of another over. So that means that we've now had 14 now? We've had 13 now. And Derbyshire are 43 for 5. Just 4 runs off that over as well. They haven't had the most expensive over was Luke Wood's first, and that went for 7. And since then, they haven't had an over that went for more than 5. We've had a couple of 3-1s and a wicket maiden. It's been disappointing, I believe, is how the sportsman would tell you.
I think the bowlers wouldn't see it that way.
No, absolutely not. Well, yes, no, I'm trying not to be one-eyed, but it's very difficult at the moment to pick any positives out of the performance of the team that I cover on a daily basis. But no, it's been terrific from Lancashire. I'm trying not to be one-eyed, but it's very difficult at the moment to pick any positives out of the performance.
Good wicket and almost sort of 7 and over, 8 and over all the way through seemed quite see the trend in the past score.
Dot ball to begin Matt Parkinson's second over from the I assume that's the river end. Certainly the Mersey is just a few hundred yards to our right. Parkinson's in again. The reverse sweep comes out from Alex Hughes. Are they going to get 2? They are, you know. They're going to get 2, everybody. That's the first time they haven't had a single since the 3rd wicket fell in the 5th over. It's only 2, but it's a start. They played on that pitch at Edgbaston yesterday. They were same as the hybrid pitch, wasn't it? Which has got the sort of synthetic material woven into it, a bit like the modern football pitches.
Yeah. So I think they had 3 games on it, and when we played at Headingley, was same. We had the hybrid pitch there, and they do tend to last a bit longer as well.
Parkinson bowls down the track comes Hughes, and he lofts this one rather gently up towards long on, nowhere near long on, who comes in off the boundary to do the fielding Rob Jones, but they go through for another single. I suppose if you can, the ideal would be for club cricketers to have, or cricket clubs to have those kind of pitches, because then they could sort of use them a bit more often, couldn't they?
Yeah, we've got a few nets at Old Trafford, and they're great for obviously to bring back and to get more use out of them. And they look a little strange at first, but they take a couple of balls to get used to. It's usually a bit more tennis bally bounce, really. But yeah, they've been great for our nets, and I think we played on a couple of games last year out in the middle as well. So I think we'll see a lot more clubs do it, and just to stay out in the middle more, really.
Better than those carpets that every club seemed to put down at one point, which just ended up getting covered in moss. A single pushed up to mid-off, previous delivery from Parkinson. This one is launched into the leg side. Is he going to be safe? He is going to be safe, and remarkably for a shot that was hit with some aggression, and for the first time in a good while, Alex Hughes picks up just 1 for that, and Derbyshire move on to 48 for 5. The one thing that you notice is that it won't be that good for the spinners, I wouldn't imagine, because there'll be no footmarks at all. There are hardly any other after 3 games.
Yeah, it's quite strange, and when we played him in the match, it hasn't really turned it a great deal. Just get that.
Oh, both batsmen at the same end. There's going to be another run out here, and Anuj Dal has gone. Alex Hughes stood his ground. The ball was hit back by Dal towards Parkinson. It ricocheted off him to the fielder at mid on, and he just had the simplest of tasks of throwing it to Alex Davis, and Anuj Dal goes run out. Derbyshire lose their 6th wicket. They're 48 for 6 now.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it hit Matty or the non-striker there. Matty, he's not the greatest off his own bowling. I was surprised if he got a hand on it. It might have been his foot, but we never know.
Well, my eyes are shocking, and we're square on, so that's my excuse for getting every bit of that wrong. But it was a disaster from a batting point of view as far as Derbyshire are concerned, because they've now had a couple of run-outs. First one, direct hit from Luke Wood. That one with both batsmen at the same end.
It might have hit him. Maybe that's why he stood his ground, because he thought he might have been sneaking a run if it hit the batter. But still, it was an unfortunate confusion.
Yes, not great from Derbyshire, who can start thinking ahead to the game on Sunday that starts here, the 4-day game, when we can actually talk about Derbyshire being near the top of the table rather than at the bottom in the 4-day competition. We'll all be nervous, we'll all be working things out, trying to work out how Worcestershire are doing, how are Essex doing, what's happening between. Worcestershire are playing Somerset, aren't they?
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting finish, and it's going to be harsh from one team that finishes at the top, who unfortunately won't qualify.
A new over from Stephen Parrott from the pavilion end, and they're going to come back for 2. The new batsman, incidentally, is Matty McKiernan, came into the non-strikers end because it was the end of the over. And Derbyshire, the 50 is up, everybody. And No applause. I'm not surprised. But that was a 2, another 2. Oh, the innings is starting to build now. Crofton, and it's pulled quite hard into the leg side by Hughes, and he picks up another single. 51 for 6. At least I've always got something new to tell the good folk of Radio Derby when I do my half-hourly updates. You can have these games where nothing's really happened. I think they'll have switched off anyway by now, the Derbyshire supporters. Get yourselves ready for a big night out, Friday night. Burton fans getting ready for their opener tonight, and Derby County tomorrow afternoon. Parry is in, bowls on that one. Well, McKinnon gives the impression that it kept low. I'm not sure that it did. He started to go forward, went back, and then just basically stuck his bat in the way of it in a desperate attempt not to get out. Brief innings from McKinnon on Monday as he faces this next delivery from Parry, and he forces it out into the offside for a single. He's off the mark, 52 for 6. Came out as a pinch hitter on Monday. Never seen that from Matty McKiernan before. Hit the first ball for 6 and the second one straight up in the air. So came into this game with a strike rate of 200. As Parry bowls, this one is clipped into the leg side. Backward of square by Hughes for another single. 53 for 6. They're edging closer to the number 81. That was the number that Scott was showing me before. You'll have played in that one, I bet.
I'd have thought so, yeah.
Yeah, I'd have thought so.
Yeah, I've not missed many over the years.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll have played in that one. 55 for 6 now as McKinnon pushes this one up towards mid-wicket, where Josh Bohannon, who I've hardly mentioned in the field today, does the fielding. It's the end of the over. Blimey, they're racing past. I'm going to have to call Scott back in because I've got to go and do something for Radio Derby in a minute. I'm not sure how we're going to do this. So whatever Scott does, we'll just go along with. I think that's probably the safest thing. 6 off that last over, 54 for 6 after 15. So 5 overs to go. And if they get past 75, I'll eat this laptop. Oh, listen to that. That's all very, very, very efficient. I like it. No, you keep those on. Yeah. No.
Are you staying for one more over, Stephen?
Yeah, I got nothing else to do, to be honest.
Have you not?
No.
Okay.
No. As soon as I weren't playing today, I moved the lads' cars over out of Cow Corner, but we haven't had to have that problem yet, to be honest.
I'm not quite sure I've seen a T20 match like it.
No, you think usually you lose a first. If you lose a few, you expect a partnership somewhere down the line, but there's been none as of yet. There's still time, but
there is. Yeah.
Well, yeah, to still have overs up his sleeve from Parkinson and Parry is what you want from Lank's point of view.
Parkinson ball and swept. It swept well, actually. You'll get 4. Is that the second boundary? The second boundary. Hughes sweeping nicely for 4 behind square on the leg side. That target, or that figure that certainly Derbyshire supporters will have in mind, is to try and at least get beyond 81, which is their lowest total against Lancashire. Now 59 for 6, and the ball's in the shrubs. It's disappeared in amongst the long grass, but below the trees.
Well, Woody won't want to get his hands dirty. He'll send someone in there. Oh, he's got it.
It's another element to cricket restarting. You're having to go into the stands and fetch your own cricket balls, aren't you?
Yeah. It's like back in the day, usually running miles down the field. But yeah, it's an incentive to bowl well. Really, should send the bowlers themselves to get it.
I think Kate Cross suggested something similar up at Durham for the opening T20 match. It should be like a punishment for the bowler. Go and fetch it yourself.
A good job they got that stand at Durham. He's very open.
This is swept again, or attempted to sweep as Parkinson balls to Hughes. Thuds into the pad. And Davies comes from behind the stumps to field. No runs, so 59 for 6 in this T20 fixture, which has been a bit of a mess really from Derbyshire's point of view. trying to scramble together some kind of score. More runs here behind 4 more of them actually out towards the square leg boundary. Another boundary, another sweep from Hughes, and a pretty enthusiastic attempt to cut the ball off by Luke Wood, but well, a couple of boundaries in the over. Derbyshire getting going. The previous boundary was the first ball of the second over, and we're now into the 16th for the second one. Tough afternoon for Derbyshire so far. Swept again by Hughes. This time it will be cut off by Luke Wood at deep backward square leg. Hughes moves up to 30 to the 16th for the second one. Score moves on to 64 for Derbyshire so far. Swept again by Liverpool Cricket Club. Hughes. This time it will be cut off by fixture between Lancashire Lightning backward square leg. And the Derbyshire Falcons. Matt Parkinson moves up to 30 played into the offside. Attempt moves on to 64 for Derbyshire so far. Jennings to catch. Swept again by Liverpool Cricket Club. Hughes. Spectacular catches so far in the competition. Lightning backward square, particularly at Leicester Falcons. Matt Parkinson the other day. 30 played into the offside. Comes on to 64 in the over. It's a 64 for 6, 16 gone. I heard you chatting to Fletch there as to what you do as a batting side. I suppose these two have just got to try and get whatever they can, just try and muster something on the board.
Yeah, and I think as a batter, I was saying, you've got to be brave really, because you just look for singles. I think, yeah, a total around 80 is not going to be enough really, and with Derbyshire having 2 spinners, 2 leg spinners, I think you need something to bowl at. So I think trying to be brave and maybe get obviously looking a long way away now, a 120 or something like that. It's obviously going to be something competitive, but it's a tough situation to bat really, because if you take one up in the air, it's one of them. What you're doing, you had a little bit of time left, but yeah, a score around 80 you think could be knocked off very easily.
Here is Parry for Lancashire balls. Attempt to reverse sweep, and he's gone. Alex Hughes, he's been trapped LBW. He's gone for 32 and becomes a victim for Stephen Parry in his 4th and final over. At the first ball of it, Parry traps Hughes LBW, and now Derbyshire Falcons are 7 down. I'm afraid for the Falcons supporters listening, it's a rather bleak looking scorecard. It's one that will bring a smile to the face of Lancashire supporters. 64 for 7 in the 17th. You don't often see games like this in T20 cricket, do you, Stephen? I mean, this is a real kind of freak situation at the minute.
It is, yeah. I'm just looking at the scorecard now where Parky is going at 6.3 and Woody at 5. You'd usually take that, but today they look very expensive. But yeah, it does seem a bit of a slow wicket, and the lads started really well. We spoke about that today. A ground we haven't been to for quite a while, especially T20. We've got to start well and set the tone, and it's come from there really. So the bowlers that have come in afterwards, Danny Lamb and Bales, and Pazza as well, they've just continued with that, and every credit to them. They've bowled really well and not given the Derbyshire batsmen anything.
Like I should know that a victory here would take them 2 points clear at the top, at least for a few hours, with Notts Outlaws playing a little later on, but would move them on to 8 points, and in this kind of congested or shortened competition, decent number of points on the board even at the halfway stage of that, when group games, there's 10 of them. There is Parry bowling, that's punched down the ground, and the run on the board for the Derbyshire Falcons. 65 for 7. Harvey Hussain is the new batsman. Brings Matty McKiernan back on strike. Parry for Lancashire. Little skip as we've seen for so many years now, as he comes in and bowls, and McKiernan going back and clipping the ball along the ground through mid-wicket where Bohannon fields. Throws in on the bounce, or what? Gathered by Alex Davis.
Yeah, Paz are really pleased there. His first game, first opportunity really, and to get his first wicket will probably calm his nerves, even though he's 34 now. It's nice to open your account.
Pushed along through mid-off by Hussain for a single. Still got a few nerves, even with your experience, Stephen?
I think, for me personally, not necessarily when I'm on the field. It's sort of the time when you're off it really. You just want to get back out there and sort of bit once you're on the once I'm on the field, it's fine really, because you're sort of in control. It's when you're sort of waiting for a game or things like that where you try to tend to stay a bit busy really. But yeah, once you get on the field, I suppose I've done it quite a few times now. You find once I get out there, it's to say like waiting to bat as well. I stride around a bit. Don't like sitting down. I want to get out there, but yeah, once you get out there, it's usually okay.
They're saying uses his feet and comes down the pitch, whips the ball through the onside, and extra run added to the total. That's the end of the over. I think Parry's done. He's bowled his 4 overs, and we've had 17 of the Derbyshire Falcons innings. 17 overs gone, 69 for 7. Rees for 4, Godalming for 8, Madsen for 1, Duploy for 4, Critchley for 6, Hughes for 32. Dahl run out by Villas for 5. Leaves Matty McKinnon and Harvey Hussain currently batting for the Derbyshire Falcons. Stephen Croft alongside me. You'll squeeze one more over out of you, Stephen, and then
yeah, not a problem.
Have a little break.
It's usually what the captain says.
Is that
squeeze one in somewhere and try and get away with it?
Yeah. We're going to at some point come on to bowling with the cap on, which I've got to say has been a highlight as Parkinson is in. Whipped away through the onside, through mid-on by Hussain. Rob Jones comes up to field. Hussain moves up to 4. Score moves on to 70 for 7. I'm liking it, Stephen. Big fan of it.
Yeah, there's been a few that haven't. I've been surprised, but to be fair, it was an accident that started up at Durham, really. Let's tell you after this ball.
Parkinson bowling. McKinnon looking to sweep. Parkinson asking if that's out. The umpire says no.
So yeah, it was obviously the first game of the season up at Durham. I'd set the field, forgot my cap on, and put it on the stumps for the umpire, and then he realised that they're not allowed to hold them, so I went to give it to a teammate, and they're not allowed to hold them either. So
this is swept by McKinnon, slog swept through the onside. It's gone high, and it's gone for 6 for Matty McKinnon. Takes him into double figures. Moves the Falcons on to 76 for 7.
So yeah, I just thought I'll have to put it back on. I'm not running 100 metres there and back.
I don't blame you.
to throw my cap off, and yeah, and then my hair's not as bad as Keats at the minute, but it is too long, so it almost acted as a headband as well. And I bowl well, so it's almost a bit of superstition that I just kept it on then.
McKinnon sweeping Parkinson's next delivery, picked up by Luke Wood at deep backward square leg. The score moves on to 77 for 7.
And I like to think it knocked a year or two off.
Yeah, I think it did, yeah. Well, a few months maybe.
Yeah.
Parkinson to Hussain, skips down the pitch, drills the ball through mid-on, and Rob Jones comes up from the boundary to field, 78 for 7. So you weren't tempted to have it pointing forward, obviously. You were quite keen to spin it round the back then, were you? That was always... Or was that just instinctive at the time?
Yeah, so I just couldn't see it and just get it out of the way. Didn't want to knock it off and ball another wide.
Parkinson to Critchley. It comes off the inner edge of the bat and they scamper through for a quick single. Parry underarm with a throw towards the stumps. Hits as well, Parry, but they're through for 1. End of the over. 2 remaining, 79 for 7. We'll bring Dave Fletcher back in. We'll come back to that in the second, because I've got a lot more to get out of you with regards to the cap. And I also want to speak to you about Keaton Jennings' hair as well. I think it's a work of art. I think it's magnificent.
I said earlier, I don't know if he knows that the barbers are open now, but he's totally committed to it. He's not had it trimmed, and I'm surprised his hat and his helmet fit on, to be fair, because if he took it off, he grows by another foot. So it is amazing.
Why would you want to cut such a beautiful mop of hair? Stephen, thank you. We'll bring Dave in for the final couple of overs. Stephen, if you're knocking around and fancy coming back in the second innings, then feel free to join us. Thank you so much, Stephen Croft, with us here at Aigburth as Bailey is back into the attack and bowling. That's whipped away through the onside. Up comes Bohannon from deep mid wicket to field. An extra run on the board. Dave Fletcher is back alongside me. 80 for 7.
Thanks for not mentioning my lad's text to me about Stephen Croft bowling with his cap on backwards.
He wasn't a fan, was he?
No, he said he deserved to get 8 for 4 for that.
That's harsh.
You got a wicket second ball, though, didn't you?
I say meets this one from Bailey and works the ball through the onside, but Hannon comes up to field, and score moves on to 81 for 7 in the 19th.
You know what that means.
Aye, that's true.
You can get rid of that nasty statistic that you flashed in front of my eyes before the 81.
There's nothing sinister about it.
No, I know.
I just thought you might like to know.
It's always useful to know that kind of thing. Oof,
Bailey
wide.
in, but down the leg side, and taken by Davis.
They'll get there in wides. This has been disastrous from Derbyshire, hasn't it? From start to finish, really.
Just saying to Stephen, you just don't see this in T20 cricket, do you? Very, very rare. I don't think I've seen a T20 match like this before.
Well, a 99-run defeat against Yorkshire, you wouldn't be at all surprised if it wasn't a 10-wicket defeat to Lancashire. That's the, I mean, they're two big defeats, aren't they?
Bailey to McKiernan, stand there and, well, hit somewhere near John Lennon Airport, I think.
Yeah.
Huge swing and a miss.
More like Hank Aaron, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a rather brutal afternoon so far for Derbyshire.
But it's nice, the weather's nice, the sun's out.
Yeah.
You know, it's a beautiful setting.
Yeah.
We're having fun.
You've had some lunch.
I've had some lunch. Yeah. I managed to get on air, which was a triumph in itself.
I wasn't entirely convinced we would. Bailey to McKiernan, waiting for it, going deep into his crease and with absolutely no timing whatsoever. Just swats the ball up toward Jones, who comes up from long on. I should have said to Stephen, if you're going to come back in the second innings, you better come back at the start.
Yeah, well, if he comes back in the 10th over, I think we'll have packed up. We'll be in the car. Yeah.
Come back for a little natter in the...
You never know what the pitch is like until both teams are batted.
You're quite right. You can't judge it until both teams are batted.
Well, I'm going to stick my neck out here.
You're going to predict a Lancashire win?
I think so.
The same weights as Bailey. He's in. That's a bottom edge which disappears around the corner. Parry Fields. I will say during the interval, if I can plug the right things in, and bearing in mind we didn't have Stephen's microphone switched on for the listeners on the stream, and I apologise for that.
That was unfortunate, wasn't it? We didn't realise that, did we?
I do apologise for those on the stream unable to hear Stephen. You're listening on the BBC Sport website and an app, you'll have heard him fine, but apologies for that. But we've got that issue resolved as Bailey comes in. And McKiernan hits his back over Bailey's head. Villas trying to cut the ball off. Oh, that's a pretty acrobatical effort from Dame Villas.
He hasn't hurt himself.
Well, I know. I mean, trying to save a couple of runs, which is a valiant effort leading from the front, Dame Villas, but maybe a little unnecessary, bearing in mind the state of the innings. But anyway, 88 for 7 with 1 over left. Just to say, those watching on the stream, I think your half-time interval will include thoughts of Graham Onions and Richard Gleeson, so I'm told.
Yeah.
Those with us on the BBC Sport website and app, or on medium wave across the northwest of England, you will also be hearing from Graham Onions as well. So whether you're on the stream or whether you're listening online, you're going to get a bit of bunny during the course of the interval. 1 over left. Here's Dave Fletcher.
Danny Lamb to bowl it from the River End here at Liverpool Cricket Club in Aigburth. Pleasant breeze. Sun trying to peep through some greyish clouds, but the rain isn't going to save Derbyshire on this occasion. I think Lancashire are almost ahead of Duckworth Lewis even now, and they haven't started their innings. There's what's happening here? I think Dane Villas is just stretching, isn't it? Yeah, he is, isn't he? And I did wonder when he went for that dive whether he might have hurt himself, and it looks as though he may well have done just that. And when you consider that Derbyshire have already effectively lost this game, Lancashire pretty much already won it, the last thing you want is for somebody to pick up an injury, and the physio has come out.
He sent him off, hasn't he, Dane Villas?
He has, yeah, but he's definitely not 100% comfortable, is he?
Absolutely magnificent effort, leading from the front, and you know he throws himself around as Tom Bailey described it, as like Superman, but probably under the circumstances not necessarily needed.
No, anyways, you just heard Tom Bailey shout, Lambo's bowling. Danny Lamb, 88 for 7. Can they get to 3 figures? Harvey Hussain is on strike, and he pulls this into the leg side. McKiernan's desperate to get back and almost laps Hussain, who really has to get a wriggle on to get down back to the strikers end, and they do go through for 2, so they've got to 90. Still no smiles from further down the gazebo from me, from the Derbyshire regulars. Can't see anybody smiling. Bodes well for the 4-day game, of course, over in a day and a half. Lamb in, and a couple of steps down the track, and he tries to force it into the leg side there, Harvey said, and it dribbles off a pad into the offside. They pick up another single, this time from a leg by at 91 for 7. McKinnon on 18. Hussain has 9. McKinnon struck the only 6 of this innings. Third ball of the 17th over. Perhaps a tad late, but he's on strike now. What can he do against Lamb with 4 balls remaining of the innings? And it's a full toss that he slices away down to backward point. It might go all the way. It will go all the way. In fact, Tom Bailey, once it had gone past the hirsute Keaton Jennings, it looked as though it was always going to get to the boundary, and Tom Bailey, well, he quite correctly gave up on it, and they moved to 95 for 7 in imminent danger of getting to 3 figures. They've got 3 deliveries in which to do it, so a couple of 2s and a single would do nicely. It just looks less embarrassing, doesn't it? This next one is driven forcefully down towards long off, and there's a bit of a misfield there, and they think about coming for the second. They think again, because they sort of dawdled the first, unfortunately. Moved on to 96 for 7, another light aircraft, not far from the airport here, of course, but I don't think that's going anywhere near the airport. If it is, I think it's a gate crasher. Let's keep that engine on, that's all I ask. Lamb is in again and balls to Hussain, who whips this into the leg side. They're only going to get 1 for this as well, though. And they move to 98. So the only jeopardy that we're going to get this afternoon is on this delivery. Can Derbyshire get the 2 runs they need to get to 3 figures? That's the only jeopardy we've got. We're going to cling on to it with both hands here. 1 delivery remaining. Derbyshire 97, is it? No, that's 98 surely. No, it's 97. They need 3. This next delivery, oh, we went for the big swing there, did Matty McKinnon? The answer to the question is no. They're not going to get up to 3 figures. They're going to finish rather embarrassingly on 98 for 7. Not even bowled out. Just couldn't get the ball off the square for much of that innings, I'm afraid. Derbyshire, Billy Godleman 8, Lewis Rees 4, Wen Madsen 1, Deploy 4, Critchley 6, Dahl 5. 32 from Alex Hughes, who's been probably out of form more than any of the batsmen in the Derbyshire ranks this season so far. Matty McKinnon 24 not out at the end, and Harvey Hussain 10. The bowling was terrific. I think we should gloss over the batting though. That'll do for that. And let's hear from Graham Onions, I think, because the less we have to talk about this game, the better, from my perspective, Scott.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's a pretty brutal effort from Derbyshire, but Lancashire will be utterly thrilled with how they've gone about things, obviously.
Yeah.
Wicket for Hartley, couple for Bailey, 1 for Lamb, 1 for Parry. That 32 from Alex Hughes stands out like a beacon in what is not a particularly bright-looking Derbyshire Falcons innings. 22 not out from McKinnon, sorry, correction, 24 not out from Matty McKinnon, as Dave Fletcher mentioned. So the players are making their way off. Lancashire heading in towards one little marquee, which is to the left of the pavilion as we look, and to the right is where the Derbyshire marquee is also based as well. Everyone being socially distanced, and the pavilion all divided up, so everyone is kept away from each other as separately and as best they possibly can. It will be a rather quiet, I'm sure, Derbyshire section of the pavilion, and I suspect Lancashire will be a little chirpier when they disappear up towards the steps to our left-hand side. The sun is shining. In fact, it's beaming down on that red brick pavilion to our left. There's plenty of green in front of the pavilion too. The balcony, the wooden balcony which wraps around the front of the pavilion, is green and white front on the roof of the building too. The clock saying it's just approaching 10 to 4.
Via the Lancashire Cricket website, just head to lancashirecricket.co.uk/store. If you were to wear it in the sunshine of the Liverpool Cricket Club here today, you'd be seen for miles around. What an innings that was in terms of Lancashire's bowling effort against Derbyshire. Just 98 for 7 from their 20 overs. I'm joined by Lancashire bowlers past and present because of Mr. Onions' retirement today. As last time I mentioned that for the next 5 minutes. They'll be here with us for this part and indeed after the game as well. Just briefly, what do we sense of that strangely low effort by Derbyshire, but actually a strange pitch upon which they brought that 98 runs?
Yeah, a little bit, and you've got two bowlers here, so obviously we look at this score and we think, we like it and we like this type of pitch, but it's obviously been slow, very hard for the batters to get the ball away, knocking at the gaps. They could have certainly done that better, but also you've got to give Lancashire a lot of credit. I think the spinners bowled fantastically well. They didn't start their innings particularly well, but yeah, as I said, we've got to give ourselves a pat on the back. But the game's not done yet. We don't know. I didn't expect it to be, a pitch for less than 100. Maybe the 140 pitch might have been a better score. But I think they're well under par.
It was hard work, wasn't it, Richard, from the very outset, as Graham said, because the opening bowling pair of after the first over, of course, from Tom Hartley, of Tom Bailey and Luke Woods, they really kind of throttled them from the very beginning.
Yeah, I think after that start, losing early wickets, it's always difficult, and they never really got any momentum going. I don't think it will be an easy chase by any stretch of the imagination. Like Graham said, it does look a tricky wicket, a little bit slow. It's maybe got a little bit damp over the last few days, but I think a couple of solid partnerships and we should get home quite easily. I'd back our batters, especially with the form that Alex and Keaton are in at the minute, and then if a couple of lads can chip in as well, I think easily chase that down.
More analysis from Richard Gleeson and Graham Onions in just a moment. Let's remind ourselves of how Derbyshire did post that 98 for 7 in their 20 overs. So 99 to chase for Lancashire to win this one in the Vitality Blast North Group here in Liverpool, and highlights packages usually made up of lots of boundaries and lots of wickets, not so much of the former, a lot of the latter, and actually, Graham, it's very strange because after that boundary, which I think happened off Luke Wood's first ball, then there wasn't another one for about 14 overs.
It's unheard of, isn't it, really? But then once again, it's the credit that has to go towards our experienced attack, really. We put them under pressure. We bowled straight. We bowled into the pitch. We didn't. It's okay pitching the ball up. I'm talking about bowling into the pitch and still hitting the top of off stump. I think we did that really well. I would say it's the massive advantage of obviously winning the toss and almost putting the pressure onto the batters and getting them to try and see if they can get a good score. And I don't think they've got that score. I think we can chase that down.
Richard, Derbyshire have been more and more impressive as the years have progressed. In particular, the last couple of years, they reached final stage for the first time last year, partly because of their top order, but they were 18 for 4 after the power play. And on Monday, when of course it was a very close run thing, Deploy, Rees and Madsen got 112 runs between them. Today it was just 9. So if you're going to try and distill it down to one thing, it's perhaps that.
Yeah, it's a strong top 4 there, especially Madsen. He's been a key player for them over the last few years, and he's gone around the world and shown his class. So I think if you can get him cheaply, it's always a bonus. But as well, Godleman, I think he was up there in the MVP rankings last year. So if you can get those boys early, it definitely gets you on the front foot. I think second innings, they'll still have a few tricks up the sleeves. They've got some good bowlers. I think the wicket plays into the bowlers with a little bit less pace. Like Graham said, pitching the ball up, but still trying to hit the wicket and letting the wicket do the work for you, taking the pace out. So I think they'll still come hard second innings.
Yeah, we heard from Dane, didn't we, before, the reason that he decided to bowl first because he wasn't quite sure what the pitch would do. Having seen what the pitch has done, how much will that help the Derbyshire bowlers, even if their batsmen haven't necessarily helped them out in that first go?
They'll know they've got a chance, and that's all you can ask for in T20 cricket. If you know you've got something to bowl at, the back end, they've got a few boundaries, gave himself a little bit of a score, some good hitting. Hughes managed to build something, McKinnon hit a few boundaries, so that they'll be disappointed. But T20 cricket, you never know what can happen, so they'll go out and they'll go hard, and they've got the bowlers that will make it difficult.
Yeah, conversely, will there be any doubts, Graham, in the minds of the Lancashire batsmen, because they have just seen how tricky it is to... I appreciate that they're chasing 99 instead of trying to post 180, but still, yeah, there might be the odd doubt in their mind.
Yeah, look, I think... I wouldn't say doubt, I would just say like, maybe it's a bit of caution, but the beauty of what that we've got now is that as long as you give yourself an opportunity for later overs, so you said 18 for 4, they're on the back foot straight away. So if we're 18 for 1 in the power play, fair enough, but we've got wickets in hand that we can go and take them down later on in their innings. But as I said, and Lisa's right there, is that the game's not over. Derby have to believe that they've got enough, which will make a good game.
Given the strong foundations that Lancashire have had in their 2 wins from the opening pair in particular, Alex Davis and Keaton Jennings, will they, I mean, they've been fairly adaptable with how things have played out already this season, but will they think we're going to change the way that we approach this?
No, look, I think they'll always have the mental approach of attacking. Any kind of width they'll go, they'll still travel on this pitch. What we did, as I said, is that we bowl straight. If their bowlers bowl too short or too wide, they'll get punished. And I think Al Davies, the form that he's in, and obviously Keaton as well, setting them foundations early on, I think we'll win the power play, and then we'll put their bowlers under pressure. And
boundaries, essentially, again from Dane earlier on, he said it's a big old playing surface because there's no fans here to push it a little bit further in. If you look to the far side behind us, it's a long way, so don't necessarily get frustrated if the boundaries don't come in the way that you would expect.
No, I think if you can, out of the power play, if you can run the twos hard, even if you're hitting the fielders on the boundaries, there's plenty of space out there. So I know that's something that Dane Velas does really well. He's quick between the wickets. But I think I'd like to see Alex take a bit of impetus and try and get the ball rolling early and put the Derby players on the back foot and really set us off to a flyer.
Yeah, get some twos. Find some twos in those spaces. Well, as you can see, Alex Davis and Keaton Jennings taking to the field. The Falcons are already there. So we'll rejoin our BBC commentators, Dave Fletcher and Scott Reed.
First made 181 for 4, and Chris Dent made 87. So 181 for 4 from 4 overs, 3 wickets for Ed Barnard. Gloucestershire setting Worcestershire a total of 182 to win, and they've lost 3 wickets in pursuit of that. Worcestershire 72 for 3, halfway into the 10th. 182 to win that game. So that's the other afternoon start, that game taking place in Bristol. And there's some evening games as well, 3 of them in total in the Blast. Notts Outlaws against Leicestershire Foxes, that's at 6 o'clock. That's at Trent Bridge. Somerset against the Birmingham Bears in Taunton at 6:30, and Durham against Yorkshire Vikings at 6:30 at Chester Street. And there, of course, is the international T20 fixture taking place as well. But here we go, Lancashire's run chase as Davis comes down the pitch and slaps his ball up towards mid-off, where there is no run. Matty McKinnon bowling the first over of for Derbyshire from the river end out towards our right-hand side. The sun is trying to burn through. It won't be too cheery for Derbyshire supporters in this modest total Lancashire are chasing. Davis goes back, tries to cut the ball, but just chops the ball down into the ground, and picked up by Wayne Madsen. And there's no run yet. 6 o'clock for England against Australia in the international T20 match at the Ageas Bowling in Southampton. I think all 3 T20s are in Southampton, and the one-day international series at Emirates Old Trafford. Here is Matty McKeon, his leg spin, slowly drifting in and bowling to Davis, who's down the pitch, hits it back over the bowler's head. There's a cry of catch. Davis gets through for 1. It just drops short to the man posted on the boundary. First run on the ball for Lancashire at Lightning. Brings Keaton Jennings on strike. I'm hoping that Stephen Croft might come back and join us for a bit, because I want to get a little bit more about what the Lancashire dressing room's view of Keaton Jennings' hairdo is, because it is a quite magnificent look that Keaton Jennings is going for. Thick, curly hair. I mean, it is wonderful. It's like a real work of art. But I believe he's had a mixed response from his teammates. Jennings on strike for the first time. Here is McKiernan. It's a very gentle approach he has. McKiernan balls to Jennings, who goes back and turns the ball into the onside. Billy Godleman comes up from mid-wicket to field. And there's no run. 2 fielders outside the circle are at deep mid-wicket. And McKiernan comes in. He's absolute walking pace, really, isn't it? Jennings punches the ball down towards long on, who's the other fielder outside the circle. And who's Dahl. Jennings gets a single. He's off the mark. Score moves on to 2 without loss. Brings Davis back on strike. McKiernan spins the ball from one hand to the other. And Davis clipping it off his pads out towards backward square leg, sends Jennings back. He was backing up, and has to go cartwheeling into the crease to make sure he was home there, Keaton Jennings. It would have been, I suspect, a slightly frustrated man had he been run out for 1, with Lancashire needing 99 to win. But anyway, he was back. Has to go cartwheeling into the crease to make sure he was home. So 2 without loss, 1 over gone. It would have been, I suspect, a target is 99 had he been run out for 1, with Lancashire to win the game and to move 2 points clear at the top of the North Group. Just after 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, and a very warm welcome if you've joined the stream, the live stream via Lancashire Cricket TV, or on the BBC Sport website and app, or on the BBC Radio Lancashire medium wave frequency 855, or at Egbert Cricket Club. It's quite a breezy day. We can see the trees on the far side of the ground blowing in the wind. If you're watching on the stream, you'll have a perfect view from behind the bowler's arm. We're commentating from ground level and we're square on. We're watching Keaton Jennings tap his bat. And he works his delivery out into the onside. Sam Connors bowling from the pavilion end. And Jennings gets a single. Clipped away through square leg for 1. So he doubles his total. Lancashire move on to 3 without loss. Derbyshire Falcons in this dark blue. Lancashire all in red. Dave Fletcher's back alongside me. You've updated.
Well, you say I've updated them. The Wi-Fi let me down alarmingly there, and yeah, I think they got the gist.
Did you manage to say the score?
I just think they heard me say Derbyshire are going to lose this one.
Right. It's Connors into to Davis. Swatted out through the onside. Duploy comes round from deep square leg to mid-wicket to field. Davis gets a single. He moves to 2, and Lancashire moved to 4 without loss. Yeah,
so it wasn't great, but then again, they probably didn't want to hear anyway.
Well,
in all honesty. Yes. Well, if they only go along at 2-0, but they're in a spot bother in Lancashire.
Could be time.
Give me a plan for the update at 4:30.
Connors to Jennings, who plays forward and pushes back towards the young Derbyshire bowler, and there is no run.
He's done well this season, Sam Connors. He's product of the Derbyshire academy, and there are so few of those who come through. It's only his 4th game of T20 cricket at senior level, and he has only picked up 1 wicket, but he's bowled much better than that.
Comes back into to Jennings, low full toss. If Jennings strikes back down the ground, stopped by Connors off his own bowling, no run.
The irony, of course, being that when they bowled poorly against Yorkshire and conceded 220, they were out of the game, and now they're bowling quite nicely. They're already out of the game.
Pressure's off.
Yeah, bowlers, go on, see what you can do, and fair play to them.
Aye.
So far.
Connors to Jennings, driven, he beats the gap of a couple of fielders inside the circle on the offside. And Jennings comes back for 2. Billy Godleman eventually throwing the ball in. A couple for Jennings, so he's now up to 4. Lancashire 6 without loss. Well, I guess that's all Derbyshire can do, really, isn't it? Try and go out, play properly, bowl well, feel well. You know,
yeah.
I suppose that's the message from the camp, isn't it? You try and take at least something from the way that they bowl and feel from this.
Connors will definitely play on this pitch, well, not on this pitch necessarily, but on this ground on Sunday. Not sure about McKiernan.
It's a good question about the pitch, actually. As Connors is into Jennings, it's down the leg side. It's a wide signal. I'm under the impression, and there's every chance I am wrong, but there is only 1 pitch that is viewed as being first-class standard.
Oh, okay.
So I think this will be I don't think there is a second pitch in here.
Yeah.
I think there's talk about putting a second pitch in, but I'm not certain it has happened.
Right.
So I suspect the one we're using is the one that we'll probably use for the ball.
Flashbacks, the batsman, then, won't they?
Connors to Jennings. Nice straight drive down towards mid-on where Lewis Rees fields. End of the over, so 2 gone, 7 without loss. Lancashire 99 is their target to win the game.
Derbyshire in front at the same stage. They were 11 without loss. I think that's probably the only time, which is good news.